everyone, and welcome back to Mach 1 Mindset. Today we're diving into AP European History 1.6, The Age of Exploration. Now before we get started, please make sure you like, subscribe, and of course comment down below if you have any questions. Let's get started. Today we are going to examine the Age of Exploration, why Europeans began overseas expansion, and how exploration reshaped global trade, politics, and power between the 15th and the 17th century. The Age of Exploration occurred roughly between the 15th and the 17th centuries and was driven by a combination of technological innovation, economic ambition, and religious motivation. European monarchs sponsored voyages to expand trade networks, gain wealth, and spread Christianity. Exploration was not random. It was state-sponsored, competitive, and closely tied to the rise of the strong centralized governments. Several technological advancements made long-distance exploration possible. Improvements in navigation and shipbuilding allowed Europeans to travel further and more safely than ever before. The compass helped sailors determine direction. The astrolabe allowed them to calculate latitude at sea. Advances in cartography produced more accurate maps. The stern post rudder improved steering, and the caravel, a light and fast ship, allowed sailors to navigate both open oceans and coastal waters. Together, these technologies made transoceanic voyages feasible. Economic motivations were equally important. European exploration was driven by mercantilism, an economic system based on the belief that global wealth was finite and that a nation's power depended on accumulating gold and silver. European states sought direct access to spice, gold, and luxury goods, bypassing the Ottoman and Italian middlemen who dominated the Mediterranean trade. Mercantilism emphasized several key principles. Bullionism held that wealth came from precious metals, which motivated Spanish conquest in the Americas. Protectionism aimed to create a feasible balance of trade by exporting more than importing. Strong navies were required to protect trade routes and colonies. Colonies themselves supplied raw materials and served as markets for finished goods. Governments tightly regulated trade to strengthen the state. Religion also played a major role in exploration. European rulers and missionaries believed they had a duty to spread Christianity, particularly Catholicism. Missionary zeal accompanied conquest and trade. The Jesuits became especially influential, establishing missions in the Americas, Africa, and Asia. Religious expansion often went hand in hand with imperial control. The Age of Exploration dramatically changed global trade patterns. The economic center of Europe shifted from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic. As a result, Italian city-states declined, while Atlantic powers such as Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands, England, and France rose to prominence. The Netherlands became a major commercial hub, dominating European trade through shipping and finance. Portugal was the first European power to lead overseas explorations. Under Prince Henry the Navigator, Portugal explored the African coastline in search of a sea route to Asia with new trading opportunities. Portuguese sailors captured Ceuta of North Africa, established trading posts along Africa's coast, and eventually reached the Indian Ocean. Vasco da Gama's voyage to India between 1497 and 1499 opened direct spice trade routes. Portugal also became heavily involved in the early Atlantic slave trade and established colonies and trading posts in Brazil, Goa, and Malacca. Spain pursued a different path, focusing on the western exploration. In 1492, Christopher Columbus, sponsored by Ferdinand and Isabella, sailed west in search of Asia, but instead reached the Caribbean. Although Columbus misunderstood his location, his voyages initiated sustained European contact with the Americas. Amerigo Vespucci later explored South America, leading to the continents being named after him. Ferdinand Magellan's expedition completed the first circumnavigation of the globe, proving the vast scale of the Earth. Spanish exploration quickly turned into conquest. Hernán Cortés conquered the Aztec Empire between 1519 and 1521, and Francisco Pizarro conquered the Inca Empire in the early 1530s. These victories were made possible by superior weapons, alliances with rival indigenous groups, and devastating European diseases. The political and economic effects of the expansion were profound. European empires expanded rapidly, especially Spain and Portugal, followed later by the Dutch, English, and French. Mercantilism intensified as colonies became more essential to national wealth. Competition for overseas territories increased, leading to conflicts such as the Anglo-Spanish War and the Dutch-Portuguese Wars. Exploration also created interconnected global systems, including the Columbian Exchange, which transferred plants, animals, diseases, and people between the Old and the New Worlds. While exploration brought wealth and power to Europe, it also caused the destruction of the indigenous societies and the expansion of slavery, particularly through the systems like the economy and the transatlantic slave trade. In conclusion, the Age of Exploration marked the beginning of global European dominance. Driven by technology, mercantilism, religion, and exploration reshaped the economies, states, and societies across the world. It created a connected global system whose consequences, both constructive and destructive, continue to shape history.